don't know if it's just not listening to the body. He doesn't recommend maxing out on good mornings. He recommends doing 3 to 5s. And I think we always get caught up in that max effort, and so we kind of sabotage ourselves, and then come bench day, still hurting, and then Fridays are affected by it. So it kind of just like, I don't want to say phased out because we still do them, but it kind of like is not a favorite, And Louis doesn't tell anyone what to do; he just makes recommendations. So it's kind of phased out. And something we started experimenting was doing lots more deadlift variations, and kind of doing like reps and then heavy and then speed, and a couple of guys had good results with it. So it's something most of us are trying right now. And typically we'll go between like deadlift variations and then like some form of squat variation, front squat or something like that. And then good mornings that seem to be thrown in. So I'd say once every 6 weeks or something. But yeah, it just kind of got phased out with the good mornings. I don't know. When I followed Westside, I always rotated between a squat bench and squat deadlift and then a good morning, and it seems like it's probably a 2-to-1 ratio as far as deadlift variations to a squat or a good morning. So that's probably the outline now. 2 weeks of deadlifts, and then a squat or a good morning variation, and then back to 2 weeks of deadlift variations. So we do a lot of rack pulls, a lot of ultra wide sumo stuff, really building the hips up, and it continues to work. And we got Dave Hoff over 8, and Jake's just jumped up. He did 8:15 and then 8:35, 8:45 the last meet. And that comes a lot from what they're doing. So we're experimenting, doing a lot more stuff like that, and hopefully it pays off. Hopefully I'll get over 8 here soon.
Right. Now, after you guys finish your dynamic day, is your secondary movement thought of at all as to what you're going to do on your max effort movement? Like, say you guys are planning on doing a max effort pull on your Monday workout. Would you then not pull the day there's a secondary movement on your dynamic day, or would that make no difference at all to you?
Yeah, it factors in there depending on the way you feel. How intense is that dynamic day? If it's the first week of a dynamic wave, typically we will pull because the weight's kept lighter, and it's kept lighter on purpose. But if it's on one of those weeks where we work up, to a heavy double, and usually I'd say it's probably 90% range for the heavy double. When we work up to that, if the low back's shot from the band tension or something like that, we know we're going to pull on Monday. Then we'll skip the speed pulls just to kind of rest that low back up, and then go right into reverse hypers to kind of traction it out and do those. So I think it's thought about in that sense. And it kind of just falls into play where if the dynamic work is heavier, then it's kind of drops, and if the dynamic work is kept to traditional dynamic work, then we'll speed pull after. But I would say every week we pull at least once, and I think that's a big thing that people, I don't know how they don't see it, because I got my log up there on the Westside site, and then Hoff and Brandon Lilly have theirs on Pro Power. So it's not exactly like our information isn't out there.
Right. Now, when you're talking volume compared to the dynamic day compared to the max effort day, is the max effort day much more toward that max effort work and then doing a little bit of volume after, reverse hypers and glute hams and that type of thing, or do you make that your big heavy day where you do your max effort movement and then maybe a heavy whatever you're going to do secondary, or do you back off? Which day has the more volume, if you were going to say total weights lifted in the workout?
Well, dynamic day is more volume because of the sets and the squats and stuff. And I think it's individual. When it comes to accessories, everyone does something completely different. And for me right now, most of my accessory stuff is like bodybuilding type stuff. Just try to add a lot of solid mass, and then remove some weaknesses I have by doing some specialized, target muscle groups, that kind of stuff work. So like total volume on Fridays is higher, but I find, personally, and I know a couple of other guys. Overall, we do less exercises on Friday because of how much that first exercise takes out of you as far as energy levels go.
Right.
And whereas max effort, I'll max out and then I'll do a lot of accessory exercises, but the weight's kind of lighter because the strength isn't there for because of fatigue.
Right. Here's something that I've actually gotten a lot of questions about. I don't know why people don't ask you or whatever, but they say that they'll watch the night crew train, and they'll notice a lot of the movements they do as secondary movements, which would be like say the hammer strength row machine or chest supported row or those type of things. They're done almost extremely light, but for massive amounts of reps. Is this what the plan is, or? I mean, and all of them have a massively thick, Brandon and Dave Hoff. I mean, when their shirts are off and you look them into the back, they look like they look like pro bodybuilders dieted. So is that what their plan is to just do massive volume, fill the area with blood, and try to build mass? Or are they using the secondary movement or the accessory movements as builders, strength builders? Or is it just a you know what I mean? What is the mindset on that?
I think it's individualized to depend on what the exercise is, but Louis is a big proponent of adding mass, and we do a lot of mass building stuff, lighter weights, lots of reps, and to build your weaknesses depend on what it is. So, like for instance, for me right now, my big weakness is my hips, and then my lats. And so I'm doing a ton of volume on my lats, and I'll waive the volume as far as whether it's a heavy or light day. I'm doing lats 4 times a week, so some days it will be really light, and some days it will be heavier. Louis is a big proponent of high reps because it gets the blood, the blood in the tendons and ligaments, and that's the only way they're built, he says. So, there's a purpose to that too.
Right. Now, how about the extra workouts and the GVP? I mean, if you read Louis' articles, you would think that he has you guys training 100 times a week.
Yeah.
Now, there are guys who do multiple workouts. They'll come back at night and do, from the morning crew, and we'll do certain things like leg curls with ankle weights or sled dragging or the neck harness work. I see you guys doing a lot. Kettlebells. Do you do that? Is that a big thing still at Westside, or is it mainly the one big workout and then sort of rest for the next workout?
I think everyone does mini workouts to some extent. I know, like a lot of the night crew guys will do their workout, and then the next day they'll come in and do a lot of like little accessory stuff. And typically, the extra workouts are built around your biggest weaknesses. Typically everyone works their abs, more because that's such a key, part of the body that needs to be built. And then like the sled dragging with the neck harness, that really, really blows the lower back up. And I think, so you see the guys doing that. But, if Louis had his way, you'd be in there, 20 times a week and that kind of stuff. But you kind of have to regulate that yourself on how, whether you're up for a second workout, But usually those second workouts are not all-out workouts. You're talking 20 to 30 minutes of lighter work usually, and a lot of it would be very targeted to something that needs to be worked on. This is your biggest weakness. So getting in the shirt right now, probably once every 4 to 5 weeks, we throw the shirt a day in there, and that's only just started happening. When I first came here, we never got in the shirts. We got them maybe once before me, just kind of like the suits, but. With we're all learning new shirts. We just switched over to the Phenom shirt. I think it's probably the greatest shirt ever made, and so we're all trying to learn that shirt right now. And
now, when you say you wear shirts, do you wear them? Do you bench off your chest, or are you guys using boards?
Well, Louis wants everyone to go straight off their chest. He's not a big board press fan. He's seen. And I'll explain that a little bit. Just I know people out there are big board pressers and have great results. But what Louis seen, and you got to remember, he got all sorts of people in the gym, and so we have bench-only crews that come in on Sunday, and he watches, like I said, everything and analyzes everything. And for years, he's watched guys do ridiculous amount of weights off board presses. I'm talking like 920 board presses, and then miss 700 at lockout in a meet. And what his conclusion for that is you teach your muscles to fire under tension for a certain period of time. What happens is when you remove the board and you can't touch, they struggle to touch. By the time they touch and press, that muscle no longer will fire at lockout because it's used the energy beforehand. Okay, so in essence, the muscle will only fire for a certain period of time, and when you increase that time, lockout becomes really hard because the muscles are already fired. You already wasted the energy. But when you're breaking in a shirt, we'll use the boards and work it down 3, 2, 1 to know where we're at.
Switch over to gear. Now you wear what do you wear? A Predator briefs and a Leviathan SWAT suit, and then a Phenom.
Yep.
And what do you?
I'm just using a Max DL on the
right. Now you used to be sponsored by a gear company, and you switched over to strictly Inzer gear. And I know that you're not sponsored, so this is not like a they're pumping you to tell them how good the gear is. What do you think the difference between Inzer's gear and everyone else's gear? How would you compare it?
I used Inzer's gear early in my career, and then switched over and pretty much tried everything of other companies, and I just could not get a lot of it to work. And I had some success with one piece of it, like with a certain squat suit, and then it'd be hit or miss, and then it would stretch out really quick. And so I wanted to go back to the canvas because I knew how good of a suit it was. And when I did that and stopped worrying about switching gear, the numbers, my numbers just shot up. And the difference I think with Inzer is I think he's a big enough company. He's a lifter himself, and he works with enough guys, and he's always getting feedback and ordering his gear. And I've been able to use strictly Inzer right now for everything, and I've tried a lot, and I just truly think that it's what will get me to where I want to go. Other people probably have based on their body types and that kind of stuff, but it's the only company I've ever been able to get something and use it right away, and it works. I don't have to send it back or get alterations, and I know it's not like that for everyone, but I've been very lucky, and I'll order a canvas suit. It's perfect every time. And the Predator briefs, they work. They're the best briefs I've ever used. The bench shirt, I've always benched in a Rage X, and I've only just switched over to a Phenom. Even when I was, using other competitors, I always went back to the Rage X. And so I have a very good comparison against the other stuff. And I know guys who have gone the other way and done well. But for me, I look at what the other guys at the top are doing and what they're using. And, they're using the Phenom, and that was a big reason I wanted to switch to the Phenom. And, they all squat in canvas, so I thought, I better squat in canvas. And, when you start looking at the trend, it seems to be, more of the top guys use that. And so I went back to it, and, I don't have any doubts that I'll just continue to use it. And I actually just switched over to pulling sumo, too. And so I'm going to be using the canvas for sumo. And the big reason is I'm watching a lot of the guys in the gym do that. And, I can't deadlift in a tight suit, conventional. It just never works for me. So I've been using Max DL, which does good enough, and does give me something. But I'm hoping that I'm switching the sumo using the canvas, I'm going to get a little bit more, and hopefully take that deadlift over ace.
Now compare the Rage X to the Super Duper Phenom. What would you say was the biggest difference? I think that the Rage X works a lot like a way that the denims work, in that it's difficult to touch but once you master it, it feels a lot like a sort of way the denim shirt used to. Where the Super Duper Phenom doesn't seem like it gives you that same stopping power, but it seems to give you more explosion off your chest. What would you say is the biggest difference between those two shirts?
I'd say the Rage X is more aggressive shirt as far as you put it on and almost like the canvas. It's very rigid, difficult to touch, but it gives you a lot. The explosion in the Phenom is just unreal, and you're literally catching the weight in the Phenom. Whereas the Rage X is kind of like, I never use a denim, but I know of the denim users say, the shirt carries you all the way through the lockout. And I think that's what the Rage X does. So, the Phenom is explosive, and you catch it and you lock it out, whereas the Rage X is kind of all the way through. The difference is it's a lot easier to touch in the Phenom, and very few people seem to have too much problem. And, when I look at what the records were done in, the biggest bench presses were done in Phenoms.
Right. Well, anyway, I appreciate it, and it was really, really good hearing your your experiences down
Yeah,
there.
I'd like to say, AJ, you know what? I just wanted to sit back this interview, bro, and just listen because, like you said, very interesting stuff. Again, it was a fantastic interview. You're very well versed in powerlifting, very vocal type of guy, like I said, dude. And whatever I can do to help you in your career, and I wish you the best of luck, man. I hope you reach all your goals, and I really appreciate you coming on the show.